Many people are obsessed with my speed, imitate my shouts, and study my fist that combines 1-inch power. In the eyes of the world, the name Bruce Lee symbolizes the ultimate limit of what the human body can achieve, as hard as steel, as fast as lightning. But I know that this body was once as shattered as a broken porcelain vase, shards scattered all over the floor. It was August 13th, 1970, late at night in Los Angeles. It was so quiet you could hear sweat hitting the floor. I was 29, on the eve of my career's explosion, feeling invincible. I lifted a 135-pound barbell, ready to do a set of good mornings. I skipped the warm-up because I thought strong men didn't need to wait. In that moment, it wasn't excruciating pain, but a terrifying emptiness. I felt the strength below my waist vanish like a wrist. I collapsed to the floor, watching the ceiling lamp sway. At that moment, I heard time stop. I didn't know it would be the last full night of my life. For the next 547 days, I would teeter on the edge of excruciating spinal nerve pain and paralysis, rediscovering who I was. The doctor stood by my bed, holding my X-ray, his eyes showing professional indifference. He said, "Lee, your lumbar nerves are severely damaged. Your martial arts career is over." He said it so casually, but it shattered all my pride, like a sledgehammer crushing glass. In the 6 months that followed, my world shrank to the size of that hospital bed. Can you imagine? A man who once delivered aerial consecutive kicks and could knock down a strong man from 3 centimeters away, now needed help just to turn over. I lay there watching clouds drift across the sky from morning to night, feeling like a discarded piece of scrap metal. Financial pressure coiled around me like a snake. My income from teaching martial arts stopped. Hollywood contracts were distant, household expenses, and baby formula money. The scariest thing wasn't poverty, but that feeling of being useless. I began to doubt. Was the spirited Bruce Lee on the streets of Seattle just a fleeting dream? If I couldn't move, couldn't kick, couldn't express my martial way, what was left of me? In those countless sleepless nights, I stared at the ceiling and shouted at fate. Why me? Why stop me now? But fate didn't answer. It just stood there, watching me struggle coldly. In extreme loneliness, one either goes mad or awakens. I chose the latter. Since my body was confined to the bed, I let my mind fly to the farthest places. I asked Linda to go to the library and bring back all the books on anatomy, biomechanics, psychology, and philosophy. During those days of absolute bed rest, I read Krishnamurti, Lao Tzu, and everything I had never had time to read carefully before. I began to re-examine martial arts. I realized that before, I had been too obsessed with strength. I pursued harder bones and more powerful muscles, but this injury taught me rigidity is often the beginning of fragility. Like the old tree standing tall in the storm, it was so hard that it broke, while the weeds beside it bent with the wind, so they survived. I wrote in my note, "Be formless, shapeless, like water." This wasn't for show. It was a cry for help I wrote to myself from the hospital bed. I realized that my spine was broken, but my will couldn't be. If my will were like water, I had nothing to lose, because water cannot be caught or broken. I began to practice mental cultivation in my mind. I closed my eyes, imagining nerve fibers slowly repairing, muscle fibers twitching, and how I would deliver that side kick again. I discovered that when you focus your attention to the extreme, your consciousness can even guide your body to heal itself. I stuck a piece of paper on my bedside that read, "Walk on, not run, not fly, just keep going. Even if each step is only 1 centimeter, as long as I'm moving, I'm not dead." 6 months later, when I first tried to get out of bed, the pain was like a drill, frantic. My whole body trembled, sweat soaking my nightgown. But I looked at myself in the mirror, the pale, emaciated man, and said to him, "Bruce Lee, this is your contract with this body. If you give up, you'll truly be paralyzed." It took me a whole year to relearn walking, standing, and generating force. Many people don't know that in the later films you saw, the big boss, Fist of Fury, Enter the Dragon, the invincible Bruce Lee on screen was actually enduring constant dull pain in his lower back every day. This pain became my mentor. It reminded me at all times, don't be arrogant, be humble like water, don't be rigid, flow like water. Before the injury, I was a sharp sword just out of the furnace. After the injury, I became a deep, bottomless pool of water. Before, I hit people with my fists. Now, I pierce the audience with my soul. Those 547 days in bed were the darkest yet brightest time of my life. Without that fracture, there would be no Jeet Kune Do, no Bruce Lee who truly understood that martial way is life. Disasters sometimes aren't meant to destroy you, but to break the narrow container of your ego, allowing your spirit to flow into a vaster ocean. Now, you may be lying in your own hospital bed. Maybe your career has hit a wall, your relationships have collapsed, or your dreams have been sentenced to death by reality. You feel the world is unfair, the future is pitch black. Look at me. Look at the man who once lay paralyzed in a Los Angeles rental house, unable to even turn over. Don't fight pain. Become one with it. Don't curse the darkness. Become the light in the darkness. Remember, though water is soft, your setbacks are just the mold for reshaping your soul. Be water, my friend, and no matter how hard it gets, walk on.